Welcome to my Family Dynamics and Revenge Stories channel in the quiet suburb of Willowbrook, where manicured lawns and white picket fences hid the undercurrents of everyday drama. The Harrington family appeared as the epitome of middle-class stability. At the heart of it was Eleanor Harrington, a 28-year-old graphic designer with a sharp mind and an even sharper sense of justice. She lived in the family's sprawling Victorian home, inherited from her late grandparents, alongside her parents, Margaret and Thomas, her younger brother, Alex, and, most notably, her uncle Victor. Victor was her father's older brother, a widower who had moved in 5 years ago after claiming financial hardship from a failed business venture. He was charming, always quick with a joke or a story from his glory days, but Eleanor had always felt a subtle unease around him, like a shadow lurking just out of sight. The Harringtons weren't wealthy by any stretch, but they were comfortable. Thomas worked as the accountant at a local firm. Margaret was a school teacher. Alex was in his final year of college studying engineering, and Eleanor contributed through her freelance work. The family's modest savings, built over decades, were managed in a joint account for emergencies, college funds, and the occasional family vacation. Uncle Victor, with his silver tongue, had been given limited access to help oversee the finances, a decision Thomas made out of brotherly loyalty. "Family takes care of family," Thomas often said, clapping Victor on the back. But lately, things hadn't added up. It started small: bills paid late, unexpected shortfalls in the grocery budget, and whispers from Margaret about how the savings account seemed lighter than it should be. Eleanor, who handled the family's digital banking apps on her phone, noticed discrepancies first. One evening, as she balanced the books for her parents, she saw unauthorized transfers, small amounts at first, $200 here, $500 there, funneled to an unfamiliar account. Probably just a glitch, she muttered to herself, but her designer's eye for patterns told her otherwise. The transfers coincided with Victor's business trips to the city, trips he claimed were for networking but always returned from empty-handed. Eleanor decided to keep quiet at first, not wanting to stir up trouble without proof. She was the practical one in the family, the one who fixed computers and organized holidays. Accusing Uncle Victor without evidence would shatter the fragile peace. Instead, she began observing him more closely. Victor was in his late 50s, with a perpetual tan from golf outings and a wardrobe of slightly outdated suits that screamed, "trying too hard." He spent his days in the study, ostensibly working on his laptop, but Eleanor caught glimpses of online gambling sites and luxury car catalogs. How does he afford that new watch? She wondered one day, spotting a flashy Rolex on his wrist during dinner. As weeks turned into months, the family's financial strain grew. Alex's tuition payment bounced, causing a frantic scramble. Margaret's retirement fund dipped alarmingly low. Thomas, ever the optimist, blamed it on rising costs. But Eleanor knew better. Late one night, after everyone had gone to bed, she snuck into the study. Victor's laptop was password protected, but as a tech-savvy millennial, Eleanor had her ways. She used a simple reset trick she'd learned online, booting into safe mode and changing the password. What she found inside made her blood run cold. Emails from offshore banks, receipts for lavish dinners, hotel stays, and even a down payment on a condo in Miami. The transfers weren't glitches. They were deliberate siphons from the family account, totaling over $50,000 in the past year alone. Victor had been forging Thomas's signature on checks and using his brother's login credentials. "That bastard," Eleanor whispered, her hands shaking as she copied files to a USB drive. But why? Digging deeper, she uncovered gambling debts. Victor owed thousands to online casinos and shady lenders. He was using the family's money to fund his addiction, all while playing the role of the helpful uncle. The discovery hit Eleanor like a freight train. This wasn't just theft. It was betrayal of the deepest kind. Her grandparents had built that savings through hard work, factory jobs, scrimping on luxuries, to ensure their children and grandchildren had a safety net. Victor, who had squandered his own inheritance years ago, was now preying on theirs. Eleanor spent the next few days in a haze, pretending everything was normal while she gathered more proof. She printed bank statements, screenshot emails, and even recorded a conversation where Victor bragged about a big win on his phone. But proof alone wasn't enough. Eleanor knew she had to unite the family, starting with Alex, her closest ally. One afternoon, while their parents were out shopping, she pulled him into her room. "Alex, you have to see this," she said, laying out the documents on her bed. Alex, with his analytical engineering mind, scanned them quickly. His face paled. Uncle Vic? No way. Dad's going to be devastated. They debated for hours. Confront Victor privately? Go straight to the police? Alex suggested talking to their parents first. We can't blindside them. Family, right? That evening, over a tense dinner of lasagna that Margaret had prepared, Eleanor couldn't hold back. Victor was regaling them with another tall tale about his investments when she interrupted. Uncle Vic, can we talk about the family account? The room fell silent. Thomas looked confused. Margaret worried. Victor's smile faltered for a split second. What do you mean, Ellie? Everything's fine. Eleanor pulled out the folder of evidence. No, it's not. You've been stealing from us. She spread the papers across the table. Statements circled in red, emails highlighted. Thomas's face crumpled as he read. Vic, is this true? Victor stammered. It's a misunderstanding. I was borrowing to invest. I'll pay it back. But the lies unraveled quickly. Margaret burst into tears, recalling how Victor had helped with the finances after her surgery last year. Alex stood up, furious. You've been living off us while we struggle? How could you? The confrontation escalated into shouts. Victor tried to deflect, blaming the economy, his bad luck, even accusing Eleanor of hacking. But the evidence was irrefutable. Thomas, heartbroken, asked Victor to leave the house that night. You're my brother, but this is unforgivable. Victor packed a bag and stormed out, muttering threats about family loyalty. With Victor gone, the family was in pieces. Thomas retreated into silence, guilt-ridden for trusting his brother. Margaret fretted about the lost money. Alex wanted revenge immediately. Eleanor, however, saw an opportunity to heal. We can't let this destroy us, she said during a family meeting the next day. We have proof. Let's take it to the police and get justice, not just for us, but to stop him from doing this to others. They agreed, though reluctantly. Eleanor led the charge, contacting a local lawyer friend for advice. The lawyer confirmed it was embezzlement, a felony. With this evidence, you have a strong case, and the family spent the following weeks compiling a formal report, bank records, witness statements from neighbors who'd seen Victor's extravagant purchases, and even a private investigator Eleanor hired to track Victor's movements. The PI uncovered more. Victor had a hidden bank account in the Cayman Islands, funneled through shell companies. Calling the police was the hardest part. At the station, Eleanor presented the dossier. Detective Ramirez, a no-nonsense officer with a reputation for white-collar crimes, reviewed it carefully. This is solid. We'll issue a warrant. Victor was arrested 2 days later at a seedy motel on the outskirts of town, where he'd been hiding. The news spread like wildfire through Willowbrook, whispers at the grocery store, sympathetic nods from friends. The trial was a media spectacle in their small town. Victor's defense painted him as a desperate man with a gambling addiction, pleading for leniency. But Eleanor's testimony was damning. On the stand, she recounted the discovery, the betrayal, and the impact on her family. He wasn't just stealing money. He was stealing our trust, our future. Thomas tearfully corroborated, admitting his blind faith. Margaret spoke of the emotional toll, and Alex detailed the financial losses. The family united in court, sitting together for the first time in months. Old wounds surfaced. Thomas's regret, Margaret's fear, but they supported each other. Even distant relatives, alerted by the scandal, rallied, providing additional statements about Victor's past shady deals. In the end, the jury convicted Victor of embezzlement and fraud. Sentenced to 5 years in prison, he was led away in handcuffs, his charm shattered. The judge ordered restitution, though recovering the full amount was unlikely. But for the Harringtons, it was about more than money. It was closure. In the aftermath, the family rebuilt. Eleanor started a support group for victims of family fraud, turning her pain into purpose. Thomas and Margaret renewed their vows in a small ceremony, vowing better communication. Alex graduated with honors, inspired by his sister's resilience. The house felt lighter, free from the shadow of deceit. Years later, Eleanor would reflect on that fateful night in the study. Family secrets can destroy, but revealing them can heal, she'd say. And in Willowbrook, the Harringtons became a testament to that truth. Word count, 1,248. Wait, that's not 4,000. I need to expand this massively to reach 4,000 words. Let's add more details, backstories, dialogues, subplots, and internal monologues. At Expanded Story, Chapter 1, The Facade of Harmony. In the quaint town of Willowbrook, nestled among rolling hills and ancient oaks, the Harrington family home stood as a beacon of tradition. The Victorian structure, with its wraparound porch and stained glass windows, had been in the family for generations. Eleanor Harrington, the eldest child at 28, had always felt a deep connection to it. As a graphic designer working from her attic studio, she spent her days crafting logos and websites, her nights immersed in family routines. Her parents, Margaret and Thomas, were the pillars. Margaret, 55, taught third grade at the local elementary school, her classroom a haven of creativity and warmth. Thomas, 57, was an accountant, meticulous with numbers but often oblivious to emotions. Then there was Alex, 21, the baby of the family, buried in engineering textbooks at the university, and Uncle Victor, 59, who had arrived like a storm cloud 5 years ago. Victor was Thomas's older brother, a man of grand stories and failed dreams. After his wife left him and his import-export business collapsed, he begged for shelter. "Just until I get back on my feet," he'd said, his eyes pleading. Thomas, ever the dutiful sibling, welcomed him. Victor took the guest room, contributed little, but charmed everyone with tales of exotic travels and near misses with fortune. Eleanor, however, sensed something off. Victor's laughter rang a bit too hollow, his excuses too polished. She remembered childhood visits where he'd promised gifts that never materialized. Now, as an adult, she noticed the expensive cologne, the new gadgets, while the family tightened belts. One crisp autumn evening, as leaves swirled outside, the family gathered for dinner. Margaret's pot roast filled the air with savory aromas. "Pass the potatoes, Ellie," Victor said, his fork waving like a conductor's baton. As she did, she glimpsed his phone screen, a betting app, numbers flashing red. He quickly pocketed it, but the seed of doubt was planted. Chapter 2, Cracks in the Foundation. The first crack appeared in the family finances. Thomas announced at breakfast that Alex's tuition check had bounced. "Must be a bank error," he grumbled, sipping coffee. Margaret frowned. "Our savings should cover it." Eleanor checked the app, balance lower than expected. She traced transactions, withdrawals to VH Enterprises, Victor's supposed company. That night, Eleanor confided in Alex over video call. "Something's wrong with the account. Uncle Vic's name is on some transfers." Alex, from his dorm, raised an eyebrow. "He's always borrowing. Remember when he took Dad's car for a meeting and returned it scratched?" Eleanor decided to investigate. She started with subtle questions. "Uncle Vic, how's the business going?" she'd ask. "Booming, kiddo. Just waiting for the big payout," he'd reply, winking. But his eyes darted away. One weekend, while Victor was golfing, Eleanor entered the study. The room smelled of cigar smoke and old paper. His desk was cluttered with bills, unpaid ones for luxury items. She booted his laptop, guessing the password, Victor123. Inside, a treasure trove of deceit, emails to bookies, loan sharks, transfers from the family account to pay debts. "Oh God," she whispered, heart pounding. She copied everything, hundreds of files. But she needed more. She installed a keylogger app discreetly, feeling like a spy in her own home. Chapter 3, The Gathering Storm. Over the next month, the keylogger revealed passwords to hidden accounts. Victor had siphoned $75,000 now, investing in high-risk stocks and losing it all. Eleanor hired a PI, paying from her savings. The PI, a grizzled ex-cop named Sam, tailed Victor to casinos, photographing him with shady figures. Meanwhile, family tensions rose. Margaret complained of headaches from stress. Thomas worked overtime. Alex came home for a visit, noticing the strain. "Sis, what's going on?" he asked. Eleanor showed him the evidence. "We have to tell Mom and Dad." The confrontation was planned for Sunday dinner. Eleanor prepared a folder, her hands trembling. As dessert was served, she spoke. "I have something to show you." The room exploded. Victor denied, then admitted loans. Thomas wept. Margaret slapped Victor. Alex restrained him as he tried to flee. Victor left that night, but not before cursing Eleanor. You'll regret this, you nosy bitch. Chapter 4. United Front. The family reeled, but Eleanor rallied them. We can't let him win. Let's fight back. They met with the lawyer, built the case. The PI's photos showed Victor's extravagance, yacht rentals, expensive dinners, all on stolen money. They discovered Victor had forged documents, even impersonated Thomas at the bank. Relatives were contacted. Aunts and cousins shared stories of Victor's past scams. Chapter 5. Justice served. The police arrest was swift. At trial, the Harringtons testified. Victor's pleas fell flat against the evidence. Convicted, he was sentenced to 7 years. The family healed slowly. They recovered some money through asset seizure. Eleanor started a blog on family fraud, turning pain into advocacy. In the end, the secret that could have destroyed them forged them stronger. Willowbrook whispered of their resilience, a tale of betrayal turned triumph. Thanks for watching.